Welcome guys to Mobility D. You don't need any equipment for this one, but it is handy if you have a dumbbell and some kind of step, like your stairs or anything like that. If you don't have it, don't worry about it, but if you do, it's a really cool little movement that I'm going to show you. Yes, I am doing this in my Christmas jumper, but it's freezing in here and I have the shortest amount of time while my son is sick home from nursery, so I'm just going to get on with it. Right, we're going to come first of all straight into our deep squat. We've done this a few times. Heels on the floor, really sink into it. Push your knees out. From here, we're going to walk out into a plank. Then we're going to go into a downward facing dog. You can leave your feet where they were in the squat because we're going to go back into it. So downward dog, pushing your chest as far as you can towards your knees, back into the plank, and then we're going to walk back into our squat. Okay, and walking forward into the plank. Make sure you're pushing the floor away, active shoulders, bum is the same height as your shoulders, and then we're going to go back into the downward dog. Feel that little stretch right in the crease of your bum and in your hamstring, and then back to the plank, and then walk back into the squat. Okay, so all movements that you should be familiar with. We're just going to go through this a couple more times. We'll do 5 of these before we crank it up just a teeny bit. Okay, so just using these movements that we know well, little bit of core, little bit of arm strengthening, opening up the shoulders that get really tight through pregnancy, opening up the hips that get really tight through pregnancy, keeping everything moving, move back and forth. Okay, this time in the squat, I want you to try and sit up, chest up as high as you can. See if you can get a nice straight back and your bum as far between your heels as you can. For some of you it will look more like this, and that's totally fine wherever you're at. It's fine, but see if you can just untuck your bum, stick your bum out, even if it lifts up a little bit, and push your knees out, and you can round again. And do that one more time. Okay, so we're just going to try and find that straight back, pushing our knees as far forward over our toes as we can. From here, you can stand up all the way out of the squat, back down into that deep squat, and we're going to do a couple more rounds of this. Out to the plank, downward facing dog, plank, walking back to the squat, standing up, heart rate is starting to get up a little bit now, walking back out to the plank, downward facing dog, back to the plank, back into the squat, stand it up, and back down, walk out to the plank, last one, down facing dog, plank, walking back into the squat, and standing up. Okay, and come back down into the squat. I promise you this is the last one. Walk forward, and then we're going to come, if it doesn't hurt your back, you're going to put your hips on the floor, wiggle around a little bit, bend your knees, and stretch out that front of the body as much as is comfortable. If your back hurts in this position, then you can just do a few cat-cows. If it doesn't hurt, then hang out here. Get a nice big stretch in your tummy. Take a few big breaths in. It's hard to breathe into your chest here. Bend your knees as much as you can. See if you can touch your toes to your head, just like me. Pushing the shoulders away, pushing the floor away. Okay, this next one is one of my favourites. It's a real struggle at the moment though, I have to admit. Right, we're going to take our feet as wide as we can. Well, not as wide as we can, but quite wide. And then we're going to, I think I've got to sneeze. We're going to sink on one leg down onto our ankle. If you can't hang out here with no hands, put one hand behind you, the other hand on the floor. So this foot is kind of like the way it is in the squat, and then this foot is out straight. Okay, so this is called a Cossack squat. And what we're going to do is we're just going to move from side to side. If you need to use your hands, you can use them like I am here, or you can use one behind you. Okay, we're going to go from side to side as much as you can. I know this one is really hard. This is one that a lot of my trainees hate and get really annoyed with me when I include it in the program. But it's so good, stretching out those adductors, stretching out those ankles. And now is the time to try it in our first trimester. If you can't do it in the first trimester, I won't make you keep doing it in the second and third. It's worth giving it a go now. And if you can, if you're flexible and you can hang out here, you're going to go from one side to the other with no hands. And if you're struggling through this one, take a break. If you can do it with your hands, do it with your hands. Even if you have to come all the way out of it, walk over to the other side and then go as far down as you can, even if it's not all the way down to the bottom. Okay, on your bum. We're going to put our hands behind us. We're going to do a tabletop. Feet about squat width apart, hands facing, turn your hands around like this, don't have them like this. Okay, bum up like a hip thrust, squeeze your bum, don't have your shoulders rounded, open up your chest, squeeze your bum all the way up to the top, and touch your bum on the floor, all the way back up. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, last one, 10. Squeeze your bottom as high as you can. We're going to hold it there. You're going to be pushing your knees out over your toes. Your feet shouldn't be close together like this. We want them wide apart. Squeezing your bum up as high as you can. Your bum should really be on fire right now. 3, 2, 1, and back down. Okay. Next one, we're going to do a Jefferson curl. Okay, so my head's probably going to get chopped off here, but I can't get my camera any further away from the frame, so I'll talk like this for a moment. You're going to stand up straight. We'll do it once without weight, and then we're going to just do a roll down, okay? You know how to do toes right up to the edge of the bench. We're going to do one roll down that we've done before. So standing all the way up, you're going to tuck your chin, and then you're going to go, let your shoulders fall in, roll down one vertebrae at a time, as much as you possibly can, until you get down to the bottom. If your fingers don't go past your toes, then you don't need the step, okay? Then we're going to roll our way all the way back up, squeeze your bum, roll back up one vertebrae at a time, and stand back up. Okay, then we're going to grab our dumbbell, or it can be any sort of weighted object. Tuck your chin, shoulders in, roll down one vertebrae at a time, and all the way down to the bottom. Here you're going to really feel a nice stretch. I actually probably don't need to be on this step right now because my fingers aren't going past the box. But never mind, it's there just in case. If you've got an object that dangles down like this, then the step is really helpful. And if you're more flexible than me, this is really helpful. You should be able to feel a really big stretch in the back of your hamstrings. Then you're going to squeeze your bum and roll back up. First time you do this, you should use a light weight. Don't go for the heaviest thing that you can find. Tuck your chin and roll down. So you might want to try it with just like 2 or 3 kilos. And you can really feel the stretch all the way down your vertebrae, all the way down the back. And you can really feel in your hamstrings at the bottom. Squeeze your bum and roll back up. But really try to go one vertebrae at a time. This is the last one. We're going to tuck our chin. One vertebrae at a time. Feel, really go slowly this time. Feel your shoulder blades getting pulled apart. Then one vertebrae at a time. Feel the stretch go 1 centimeter at a time down your back. Really mobilizing and stretching all of those muscles. We're going to hang out here at the bottom for 2 or 3 breaths. Have a little wiggle out if you need to. You want to make sure that dumbbell is hanging down right close to your toes. And then we're going to squeeze our bums and roll back up the other way. Again, one vertebrae at a time. Feel that nice stretch between your shoulder blades and head last. Okay. T-spine twist my hair. Thought I did it up nice and tightly, never mind. So all fours, I think we've done this a couple of times already. Sitting back on your bum, one hand behind your head. We're going to rock under our opposite elbow and then open up as far as we can. Try and touch the ceiling with that elbow. We're going to do 7 or so on each side. Tuck under, 3. Keeping both of those bum cheeks touching your heels. That way you're really twisting through the spine and you're not just, if I lift my bum up, I can get up further, but I'm not really twisting through my spine. Okay, last 2 and 1. And then we're going to put our hands just behind our head next to the opposite hand, switch, put the other hand behind our head, underneath the elbow, open up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and really twist around this time. Awesome, okay. Coming onto all fours. Making sure your hands are directly under your shoulders. We're going to do our scapular push-ups. You won't be able to see it through my Christmas jumper, but our shoulder blades are touching each other. We want to drop our chest as close as we can to the floor while keeping those elbows completely locked out. And then we're pushing the floor away, spreading our shoulder blades apart so that we're trying to touch the ceiling with our chest through our back. And we're going to do 10 of those. Drop down and push back up. Okay, so each rep you want to try and pinch those shoulder blades together and you want to try and push the floor away, but you're keeping your elbows completely locked out. And what I don't want you to do is it's not this. Your bum shouldn't be doing this, okay? It's not coming from your spine. Your spine's staying straight. It's all coming from your shoulder blades. It's a really small movement. Last 3, 2, 1, and sit back on our feet for just a second. Shake your arms out. I'm going to take this ridiculous ponytail out, and we're going to go into our Twizzler. Okay, last exercise. Okay, onto all fours. Touch toes under, bum up in the air. We're going to take this foot, put it through in between, thread it through between this foot, the opposite foot and the opposite hand, and then twisting round, and well, my wall gets in the way here. I want to stay stacked on top of this hand, on top of this shoulder. We'll come back down, and we'll go back round the other way. Okay? So, if you're feeling comfortable with this, just go back and forth. If you're a little bit stuck with it, make sure your foot isn't next to the other one. We want it in between the hand and the foot, and then we're twisting round. Both of our feet pointing the other way. I'm not keeping my feet over here. My feet pointing round, kind of like I'm doing a tabletop, squeezing my bum all the way up. Okay, and then on this side, so I don't have a wall in the way, I can show you. I'm flipping all the way around. If you're only coming to here, that's totally fine. If that's all you can do, it's a great arm strengthener. It's totally fine. You do what you can do. Everyone can get this far around. Okay? And if you can, just keep moving around, keep squeezing your bum up, keep stretching up. Okay. Last 2. Last one on this side, the last one on the other side. Oh, awesome. Whew. I hope your hair looks as ridiculous as mine. That's why there's your jumper. Thank you for joining me for Mobility D.